Avery's heart pounded like a drum in her chest, a mix of excitement and a creeping dread she couldn't shake, as she carefully spread her graduate school applications across the worn wooden kitchen table, each letterhead from Princeton, Columbia, and Georgetown shimmering like a golden ticket to the future she'd been dreaming of since she was a little girl. But a dark whisper in the back of her mind warned her that something was about to shatter her plans. Her fingers trembled slightly as they traced the fancy embossed logos, the papers fanning out in a perfect arc, their colors, deep blues, rich crimsons, and soft grays, forming a rainbow of hope that made her breath catch in her throat, each one a step closer to the life she'd worked so hard for, the life she'd put on hold for years to be the good daughter. Her laptop sat open beside her, its screen glowing softly in the dim light of her tiny apartment, displaying a budget spreadsheet she'd spent countless late nights perfecting, the numbers staring back at her like a challenge. Tuition $52,600, housing $18,400, books and fees $3,200. A total that loomed large, intimidating, but not impossible. Not with the $85,000 education fund her grandma Margaret Hopper had left her before passing away last spring. A gift that felt like a lifeline, a promise. From beyond the grave. "You've got your grandma's smart brain," Margaret had said years ago, her frail, papery hand squeezing Avery's with surprising strength, her eyes bright with pride. "Sharp as a tack. Use it for something big, something that matters, my sweet girl." Avery could still hear her grandma's voice, soft but firm, echoing in her mind as she stood there, the memory wrapping around her like a warm blanket, giving her the courage to take the next step. She picked up her phone, her hands sweaty, the weight of it heavy in her palm, and glanced at the spreadsheet one more time, the neat columns of numbers blurring through a sudden film of tears. Not sad tears, but ones of pure anticipation, because after years of putting her own dreams on hold, of always being the one to step back, to wait, to let others go first, the path ahead finally seemed clear, like a road opening up after a long, dark storm. She dialed her dad, James, her voice shaky but full of hope, a smile tugging at her lips as she spoke. "Hi, Dad. I'm calling about Grandma's education fund. I've picked my grad schools, and I need to talk about getting the money for deposits." The line went quiet, too quiet, for one heartbeat, then two, then three, and Avery's stomach dropped, a cold dread creeping up her spine like icy fingers, her smile fading as the silence stretched on, heavy and suffocating. "Dad, are you there?" she asked, her voice smaller now, her heart starting to race with a fear she couldn't name. Yeah, James finally said, his voice suddenly deeper, heavier, like he was carrying a secret he didn't want to share. "About that fund, there's been some temporary family changes." Avery's breath caught in her throat, her fingers tightening around the phone as the rustle of it being passed filled her ear, and then her mom Evelyn's voice came through, too cheerful, too fake, like a mask she was wearing to hide something awful. "Avery, sweetie, the timing of this call is... Well, we were going to talk to you about this soon." "Talk about what?" Avery asked, her throat tightening, her heart pounding louder with every second, a sick feeling twisting in her gut as she braced herself for the answer she didn't want to hear. Evelyn cleared her throat, the sound sharp and nervous in Avery's ear. "That money. It's gone. We used it for your sister's condo." The room spun, Avery's knees going weak as she gripped the edge of the table to keep from falling, her vision blurring as Evelyn's words rushed out like a flood, each one hitting her like a punch. Claire and Ethan needed a nice place, and the market was perfect. You know how it works, you have to act fast. They got this cute 3-bedroom in Oakwood Hills with a pool, and the fund covered it. Avery's education fund, her future, her grandma's last gift, the one thing she'd been counting on to make her dreams real, had paid for Claire's condo, each word slicing into her like a knife, leaving her gasping for air, her chest tight with a pain she couldn't name. "Don't be so dramatic," James cut in, his voice booming through the speakerphone, loud and harsh. "You're smart, you'll figure it out. Student loans are a thing, you know, lots of people use them." Avery's hands shook so hard she almost dropped the phone, her heartbeat thundering in her ears like a storm, the applications on her table blurring into meaningless shapes, the colors fading into a gray haze of betrayal as her whole world tilted on its axis. "Avery, are you there?" Evelyn's voice sounded far away, like it was coming from underwater, and a memory hit Avery like a punch. Claire at 12, twirling in a shiny new Easter dress, the fabric sparkling in the sunlight, while Avery stood in her sister's old too-tight one, the seams digging into her skin, Evelyn smiling at the church ladies. Avery doesn't mind, she's not picky like Claire. Another memory flashed. James grinning at Claire's C in algebra, pinning it to the fridge with a magnet, while Avery's straight-A report card sat ignored on the counter, gathering dust. Your sister needs more help with school, he'd said when Avery finally asked why, her voice small, her heart aching. The truth stretched back through her whole life, a pattern she'd been too young, too trusting to see. 2 sisters, 2 rules. Avery, the good one, the quiet one, the one who never made a fuss because she always figured things out, while Claire got new dresses, extra help, all the attention, all the love. How long? Avery asked, her voice strange, like it belonged to someone else, raw with anger and hurt. How long have you been taking money from the fund? James sighed, annoyed, the sound grating on her nerves. Now, Avery, don't. How long? She demanded, her voice rising, sharp and desperate, the tears burning in her eyes as she fought to keep them from falling. About 18 months, Evelyn admitted, her tone small, almost guilty, but not enough. Little bits at first, then most of it for the down payment in February. February, just 3 months after Margaret died, while Avery was still writing thank you notes for the funeral flowers, her heart breaking with every word, her grief so fresh she could barely get out of bed some days. That money was mine, Avery said, her knuckles turning white as she gripped the phone, her voice shaking with rage. Grandma made it for my master's degree. It was legal, just for me, she wrote it down, she told me. Oh, sweetie, Evelyn laughed, the sound cold and mean, like a slap across the face. It's not like we stole from a bank. It's family money for the family, we just moved it around a little. It was my inheritance, Avery snapped, her voice trembling with a fury she'd never felt before. What are you going to do about it? James's tone turned hard, like a door slamming shut. Sue your own parents? Their laughter rang through the phone, loud and real, cutting deeper than anything they'd said, a sound that echoed in her ears like a nightmare, James adding with a sneer. With what money? Don't be dramatic. It's family, we take care of each other. Avery ended the call, her finger slamming the button so hard her hand hurt, the silence in the room heavier than ever as the application stared up at her, mocking her plans, her dreams, her trust, their once bright colors now dull, lifeless, like they knew her future was slipping away. The spreadsheet on her laptop glowed, each number a cruel reminder of how naive she'd been, how she'd trusted them, believed in them, thought they'd keep their promise to her, to Margaret. Her hands stopped shaking, a fire igniting in her chest, burning away the hurt, the shock, leaving behind something new, something dangerous, a resolve she'd never felt before, a determination to fight back, to make them pay for what they'd done. She closed her laptop with a soft click, the sound echoing in the quiet room like a gunshot, her mind racing with a new, terrifying thought. They thought she'd just take it, like always, roll over and let them win, but they were wrong, so wrong, and they were about to find out what their good daughter could really do when she stopped playing nice, when she stopped being the one who always gave in, always stepped back, always let them have their way. Avery stood frozen in her tiny apartment, the echo of her parents' cruel laughter still ringing in her ears, her phone now silent but heavy with the weight of their betrayal, as a fire burned in her chest, a fierce determination to fight for the future her grandma Margaret Harper had wanted for her, no matter what it took. She wiped the last tear from her cheek, her jaw tightening with a resolve she'd never felt before. Margaret wouldn't have cried, wouldn't have let them win, she would have fought, and Avery was done being the quiet good daughter who let everyone walk all over her. The elevator doors slid open to her office floor, the familiar hum of the building a strange comfort after 3 sleepless nights, her eyes burning from staring at her laptop screen, her mind racing with every detail of her parents' deception. Her cubicle felt like a safe little corner in a world that had turned upside down, and she spread Margaret's papers across her desk, bank statements, legal documents, handwritten notes, her fingers trembling as they traced her grandma's elegant script. Education fund for Avery Elizabeth Harper, not a penny for Claire, not a cent for a condo with pool access. The words felt like a promise, a shield, and Avery clung to them as the clock on the wall ticked to 7:15 a.m., 2 hours before anyone else would arrive, giving her the perfect window to start building her case. She opened her laptop, her hands steady now, and created a new folder labeled Betrayal, Documentation, the title harsh but true, her heart pounding as she scanned every relevant document, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she built a timeline of every conversation, every lie. January 12th, James promised to set up fund access after tax season. his voice casual, reassuring. February 8th. Evelyn mentioned temporary family borrowing, her tone too light, too dismissive. March 15th, the day Avery discovered the fund was gone, completely drained for Claire's condo, the truth hitting her like a freight train. A shadow fell across her keyboard, and Avery's heart leapt into her throat as she slammed her laptop shut, her pulse racing as she looked up to see Marlene Brooks, her boss, a 60-something woman with salt and pepper hair in a no-nonsense bob, standing there with a coffee cup in her hand. The good stuff from the cafe downstairs, not the office sludge, Marlene said, setting it beside Avery with a knowing look. Avery's voice shook as she mumbled, "Just organizing some personal papers." But Marlene leaned against the desk, her sharp eyes narrowing. People with nothing to hide don't jump when their boss appears. "What's wrong, Avery?" The steadiness in Marlene's gaze broke something inside Avery, a dam she'd been holding up for years, and the story poured out in shaky, halting sentences. Her parents' betrayal, the education fund, Claire's condo, the laughter that cut deeper than any knife. Marlene didn't interrupt, didn't offer empty words, just listened, and when Avery finished, her voice raw, her hands clenched in her lap, Marlene asked, "May I?" Gesturing to the bank statements, her eyes narrowing as she read, her expression darkening with every line. "Did you know I practiced estate law for 20 years before switching to policy work?" Marlene said, her voice calm but firm, "This is misappropriation of designated funds. Your grandma created a legal instrument with specific terms, and your parents violated those terms." Avery's breath hitched, her mind spinning. "They're still my parents," she whispered, the words heavy with years of loyalty, of guilt, of trying to keep the peace. Marlene's face softened for a moment, then hardened again. "And you were their child to protect. They failed you, Avery, not the other way around." 3 days later, they sat at a corner table in the bistro across from their office, the hum of conversation around them a distant buzz as Marlene pushed aside her half-eaten salad and pulled out a legal pad, her pen poised like a weapon. "First, we document everything: bank transfers, verbal statements, written communications. Second, we determine if your grandma set up the fund through a trust or just designated accounts. Third, we explore legal remedies." Avery's stomach twisted into knots. Legal remedies against her own family, the people who raised her, who were supposed to love her. But Marlene's voice cut through her doubt. "Your family acted against you first, Avery. The question is, will you let them get away with it, or will you fight for what's yours?" That evening, Avery sat cross-legged on her living room floor, surrounded by Margaret's papers, the dim light of a single lamp casting long shadows across the room as she dug deeper, her hands shaking as she flipped through an old address book, a business card slipping out from between the pages. Daniel Harper, senior partner at Prescott and Harper Legal Group, her dad's brother who'd vanished from family gatherings after a big fight years ago, a mystery she'd never understood until now. Her finger hovered over the LinkedIn message button for 10 long minutes, her heart pounding so loud she could hear it, before she typed, "Uncle Daniel, this is Avery. I need to discuss something about Grandma's estate. Can we speak privately?" She hit send, expecting days of silence, maybe no reply at all, but her phone rang just 17 minutes later, Daniel's voice sharp and eerily like James's, but with an edge her dad never had. "Avery, I've been waiting for someone to notice." "Notice what?" she asked, her voice trembling, her heart racing as a new wave of dread washed over her. "The irregularities, your dad's sudden lifestyle improvements, the new car, Claire's condo announcement. The timing after Mom's passing was too convenient. I've been watching from a distance for years. Your dad has a history of financial creativity, but I couldn't prove anything until now." 2 days later, Avery sat in a huge conference room at Prescott and Harper, the polished table reflecting the city skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows, Uncle Daniel taller and leaner than she remembered, his calculating eyes missing nothing as the forensic accountant slid a thick folder across the table. "We've identified multiple unauthorized transfers starting 18 months ago. Small amounts at first, $5,000 here, $10,000 there, then speeding up after your grandma's death." Daniel tapped the timeline, his voice low. "They started before Mom died, while she was still in hospice care. Your dad had her power of attorney in her final months and abused it, taking money when she couldn't stop him." The room spun, Avery's breath coming in short gasps as the silver-haired woman beside Daniel added, "We've accessed emails between your sister and her fiancé, passing Avery a printed page with Claire's name at the top, the words blurring as Avery read. Mom says Avery won't need it anyway, she's always figured things out herself. Besides, she's only talking about grad school because she hasn't found a husband yet. Avery's hands shook, her chest tight with a mix of rage and hurt. Not just theft, but a cruel dismissal of everything she'd worked for, everything she valued. We have enough for a civil suit, Daniel said quietly, his voice steady but heavy. The question is, are you ready for what comes next? This will break your family apart, Avery, maybe forever. She looked down at the email, at Claire's careless words, at the timeline of her parents' lies, and felt something snap inside her, a lifetime of being the good daughter, the quiet one, the one who never fought back, crumbling away. They broke it first, she whispered, her voice raw but firm. I'm just showing everyone the pieces. I'm ready to fight. Avery's phone buzzed relentlessly on her coffee table, the Harper family group chat erupting with a storm of messages. 27 unread, a mix of guilt trips, accusations, and thinly veiled threats. But she slid it face down, her hands steady now, her focus locked on the stack of legal documents Uncle Daniel's attorney had couriered over, each page a weapon in the battle for her future, a battle she was determined to win. The voicemail chime broke the silence, and against her better judgment, she played it, Evelyn's voice trembling with a theatrical catch. Avery, family matters should stay private. You've always understood that. Whatever this is about, we can discuss it without strangers involved. Call me back, honey, please. Minutes later, James called, his tone dripping with the paternal authority that once made Avery shrink. Avery Elizabeth Harper, there are consequences to disloyalty you haven't considered. That job of yours, 3 calls to the right people. Are you threatening me? Avery asked, her voice steady, a strength she didn't know she had rising to the surface, and when he sighed, don't be dramatic, I'm stating facts, she ended the call, blocking his number as Claire's text popped up. Ethan and I might lose our dream home because of you. Is that what you want, to destroy your sister's future? The irony burned, and Avery set the phone down, staring at the rain pattering against her apartment windows, her thumb hovering over the delete contact button for her lawyer, doubt creeping in like a shadow, when a knock at the door startled her. Lydia stood there, holding a bag of Thai food. You didn't answer any texts, so I figured, pad CW, extra broccoli. Lydia spotted the legal papers, the lawyer's card, and said, you were about to back out. They're still my family. Unpacking the food, Lydia's voice was firm. My therapist calls what your parents do reactive abuse. They push until you react, then paint you as the villain. It's not just money, it's 27 years of being the family doormat, your grandma's wishes, your future. The next morning, a package arrived, a hardcover notebook in forest green leather, the first page in Marlene's handwriting. Your future, your terms. Avery traced the letters, remembering Marlene's words. Silence isn't strength, Avery, it's permission. And she knew she couldn't back down, not now, not after everything. At Prescott and Harper's downtown office, the forensic accountant's presentation laid bare every betrayal. Withdrawals began 3 months before Margaret passed, power of attorney documents bore questionable signatures, and a text between Ethan and James read, Avery might ask where the money came from. Say nothing, she won't make waves, she never does. Margaret's leather-bound journal confirmed her intent. October 12th, spoke with the attorney about Avery's education fund. She has her grandfather's mind for policy. The money is only for her education. A settlement offer arrived, repayment, an apology, help for Claire and Ethan, but Avery pushed it away. Let's schedule the hearing, in the larger courtroom with public seating, her voice firm, her resolve unshakable. In court, Judge Peterson's ruling was swift. This court finds clear evidence of flagrant abuse of trust, ordering repayment of $85,000 plus 8% interest, legal fees, $225,000 in punitive damages, and the sale of her parents' home at 1432 Oakwood Drive, the gallery, filled with their social circle, gasping as James and Evelyn's world crumbled. Their memberships revoked, Claire's condo foreclosed, Ethan relegated to shoveling hay at a petting zoo. Sunlight broke through Avery's bedroom blinds, casting golden bars across her framed Princeton acceptance letter, 3 months into her master's in public administration. A merit scholarship covering what the fund should have, her new life a testament to her fight. We did it, she whispered to Margaret's photo, adjusting her cameo pin as she prepared for a presentation on trust protection clauses. Uncle Daniel's voice on the phone. The committee will be impressed. 4 blocks away, James and Evelyn unpacked groceries in a one-bedroom above a laundromat, their dining table a card table, their portrait crooked in a narrow hallway, while Avery stood at her window, her reflection overlaying the campus clock tower, shoulders back, chin lifted, a woman reborn. At a celebration dinner, Marlene raised her glass. To Avery's first semester, Daniel adding, to allies who become family, as Lydia squeezed her hand, their support a warmth Avery never expected. In Dr. Keaton's office, Avery reflected, boundaries aren't walls, they're property lines, markers of what's mine to protect. The anger less sharp now, a quiet strength taking its place. Later, teaching at a financial literacy program, a student asked, how do you know all this about inheritance protection? Experience, Avery answered, is the most expensive teacher. At her desk, Margaret's photo sat beside a notification of her internship with the Family Financial Protection Coalition, her first paper the highest graded in her cohort, and in the window's reflection, she saw Margaret behind her, hand on her shoulder, whispering, some lessons aren't in any textbook, but they're the ones that truly educate us. Avery smiled, the past behind her, her future bright, a perfect ending to a hard-won battle, knowing she'd honored her grandma's wishes and found her own strength along the way.